Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, college football fans across the nation and around the world. This is Tim May with the Tim May Show. It's sort of an abbreviated show, but I wanted to get Ross Bjork on, the athletic director of Ohio State, to talk about the most recent developments in the revamped way of doing things in the wake of the House settlement, revamped way of doing things in terms of uh, uh, revenue sharing, but more to the point, in terms of the clearinghouse that is going to um, approve or deny future NIL deals for college football players, college basketball players, college athletes in general, but specifically with the Ohio State football team. And, we talked about a lot of things in this brief little encounter, which I always appreciate any time with Ross Bjork. I think he's one of the movers and shakers out there in major college athletics. He should be, being the athletic director at The Ohio State University. But we just clarified a few things, especially with developments at the end of this week, which are the college sports, the CSC is what I'll leave it at. He can explain it later. But the CSC is basically ruled that, in fact, NIL collectives can be involved in player remuneration, player pay, etc. Deals have to still be approved by the clearinghouse that's attached to that, but it's gotten a little bit more liberal in terms of collectives being involved. There still are some parameters to it, obviously, but we talked hypothetically, as you'll hear later in the interview, hypothetically, if, say, a car dealership wants to hook up with Jeremiah Smith and it goes through a collective instead of just hooking up with him independently, that's still available to all athletes. They can do their own deals, but now they have to survive scrutiny. They have to go through the clearinghouse to show, in fact, they are legitimate. Whatever that definition is, that's ever changing too, which is what we get into. But just a hypothetical, for example, taking a high profile player such as Jeremiah Smith, one of the more popular players, if not the most popular player in college football this season. And it's pretty interesting. We also talk about that $21 million figure that he floated out there last year about this time, which, became the calling card for everybody who came up short in the college football playoffs or even getting to the college football playoffs last season. Well, look at this roster Ohio State got for X amount of money. When in fact, there were several institutions that, or several programs that probably had a much higher figure than that as their payroll, which we talk about also, but didn't disclose what it was. And, a little bit of where's this all headed. But at least every day brings a little bit more clarity, at least about what major college football powers want to see in the coming years in the control, if that's the correct term, of the transfer portal, but more than that, the name, image, and likeness deals that players are now getting, the lucrative deals over and above the revenue sharing, which of course, starting on July the 1st, was mandatory, that you could share up to $20.5 million with. Ohio State chose four sports, two of which are football and men's basketball, women's basketball. I guess that's three, and of course women's volleyball. Those are the four, and then the others. Every other athlete is still eligible to go out and get their own NIL deals, etc. So, without further ado, let's just get to my interview with Ross Bjork.
Ross Bjork, it just seems like every day. I'm not sure if things get clarified a little bit more about what era we're in here in the NIL transfer portal era, but in terms of compensation for athletes, especially the high-end athletes, football and basketball, there was just a ruling by the what's it called, the CSC,
College Sports Commission.
College Sports Commission, that collectives can be involved now when it comes to compensation for the players. Everything still has to go through a clearinghouse and things like that. But what can you explain to people in a nutshell about what has changed over the last week?
Yeah, as we sit here on August 1st, right, we were hoping to have, a few more pieces of clarification. But look, the settlement got, settled late. It wasn't signed off until June 6th. July 1st was a milestone date. All of these things were going to go into place on July the 1st. And so it's been bumpy. It's been uncertain. We're still kind of in this gray area. As we sit here today, the rules have not been published. But what was clarified is just because an entity is called a collective does not mean they cannot be a business. So it's not really what you call the entity, it's what they do. The purpose is way more important. The three things in the settlement that did not go away. Does it meet a valid business purpose? Is it goods and services available for sale for a profit to the public? And does it meet a range of compensation tests that there's a system called NIL Go that all the athletes have to submit a deal? Look, we've had a lot of deals approved. So the system is flowing and working, and then there's some deals that were sitting there waiting to be clarified. So it's really about what does the entity do? Just because it's called a quote-unquote collective doesn't mean they can't be a business. So we have Buckeye Sports Group. That is essentially a brand new collective, whatever you want to call it, but it's a marketing agency embedded within our Ohio State sports properties, which is embedded into Ohio State athletics. We're utilizing resources from the foundation, 1870. So the purpose is way more important. That's what was clarified this week. That's the way we thought it was going to go when all of this happened a couple weeks ago. And so we've been ready to roll. We've been active. We're pushing the marketplace. We're setting the pace in a lot of cases. So to me now we have a little bit of clarity, but we're still building a lot of these things too as we go through the rest of August and September.
Hypothetically, if I'm an auto dealer and I'm part of the collective, I'm just using auto dealer because that's the great euphemism, of college sports. But I want Jeremiah Smith. These are hypotheticals to be a spokesman for me in some form or fashion, and I want to pay him $300,000, which the average man is a lot of money, but you look at the market, whatever, and you can basically clarify how he will bring $300,000, why he is worth that. Now, where does it go? Does it go to the NIL? Does it go to NIL Go, and they decide, whether it's legit, but you're still basing it on a person wanting to pay him that much money because he thinks that guy will be that valuable to him.
I think that's a perfect example, right? A donor, maybe they were using just like private funds and they were just taking it out of maybe their personal foundation or whatever. Now what they can do is they have a marketing budget in that car dealership. They have a marketing budget. Take those marketing dollars, go to Buckeye Sports Group, or they can go to Jeremiah directly too. They can go either way. And they would basically put a package together and say they want him to do X amount of appearances, they want him to film X amount of commercials. They would develop a contract. They would put the value of what they think they want to pay him. That would be submitted, and then it would be reviewed. So it's actually a much more clearer process to say, take your marketing dollars. It doesn't have to be a donation anymore. It's marketing dollars that are probably already built into your marketing budget as a car dealership, and deploy that because you either like Ohio State, you like Jeremiah, he's going to bring some brand value, you want us to help win football games. Those elements did not go away. It's just it has to be routed just a different way, and that's what we're engaged with right now.
Are you sleeping better at night than you were a month ago, 2 months? I mean, let me say that because these changes are so huge in a lot of respects, or in a lot of places, as the old saying goes, now the roaches are staying there when you turn the lights on. You know what I mean? Type thing. You know what I'm saying? But are you sleeping better? I mean, are things more clear to you than they were 2 months ago?
I can always fall asleep really well. It's the waking up and being like, okay, what did we miss or what did we think about? I wake up early anyway. Look, we knew it'd be bumpy, but everybody if someone's living in a gray area right now, that same person over the last 4 years has also said, we want rules, we want enforcement, somebody provide us clarity. The reason why, otherwise we would not have settled the house case. The reason why we settled the house case as an enterprise is because we all stood up and said, we need some ground rules, we need clarity, we need framework. Look, we should be sharing money with athletes. No one was opposed to that. Now we can do that institutionally, but because it's been bumpy, because we have a new entity that was a startup, but that couldn't start until the paperwork was signed on the settlement, it's all late. So I do think by the time we get to signing day in December, We have other fall sports that will have signing day in November. I think we'll have a lot of these things built. I think we'll have clarity on enforcement. We need a public relations campaign from the College Sports Commission to say, look, here's what we're working on. Here's our staff plan. Here's enforcement. Here's the rules. Here's what happens if you break the rules. Those things are all, in a package. They just haven't been publicized, and so that is leading to a lot of this angst. But we'll get there, and we're going to sleep better as we roll this thing out.
And is it enlightening, or is it great to know that they're not inflexible? That the CSC, because they're kind of making up the rules as they go to a certain extent, right? But you can't just be rigid in a situation like this.
Right. It's fluid, right? It's all being new. But I think the important part to all of this is you've got to come out strong. Because, look, if you lower the bar in any of this, then you'll never get it back. And so, to me, that's important that there is teeth. We set up the entity as a college sports enterprise called College Sports Commission for a reason, to give them the tools to go after bad actors. And that's what we just haven't had the last 3 to 4 years.
One last quickie. You always have 6 quickies.
Okay.
But last year, around about this time, you revealed what Ohio State's NIL for one another payroll, whatever, $20 million, $21 million. Because you were up front with it. As I've always told people, and it's been come out now, there were several schools that probably spent a lot more than that, or spent more than that.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to pat you on the back, but do you feel good that you were at least up front with what that number was? And because, now we're talking about, Texas might have a 30, You've heard all the rumors, $30 million, whatever. Is it better to be upfront about stuff as opposed to let it be mysterious?
Yeah, it's I still think we're in the world where everybody just chases a number, like, oh my God, this happened, or this payroll is this, or this NIL. And look, when that came out, the person who approached me about that had a bigger number. And I just said, look, here's the accurate range. It's approximately, but it wasn't that, oh my gosh, we have to have $20 million. The way I said it, which didn't really get reported, but again, I'll take responsibility for what I said, is I said, look, here's the total value of the NIL contracts that our athletes have received.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
So whether that was purposeful, whether that just happened, whether that was, hey, look, Jeremiah Smith got a deal and Caleb Downs got a deal, they also got a lot of deals on their own. There was also a lot. Columbus is a great market. So I think what I said back in June was numbers create narratives. And so you're seeing all these things put out there. Again, it's not about that. It's about, what is your culture? Do you have the right players? Are you coaching them at the right level? Do you have the right talent? The numbers are the numbers. So we're not publishing that stuff anymore. So if you step back to last year, if we wouldn't have said anything, numbers probably would have got out anyway.
Right.
And yes, you're right. Other teams were paying a lot more, but it was really about what could those value, the roster, attain, and that's the way it happened here.